Quick reality check. In business, everything is an investment, and process optimization and automation is no exception. So if it's not delivering the return, it's sort of like a torque. But we always get the question, hey, Isaac, how do you measure it? What have you achieved for the clients? And specifically, what have you done? Like, what are the things you've delivered? Help me understand, show me what that looks like. So this is what this video is about. I want to share transparently what are the things we've done for clients to help them effectively get a return on investment on our services. So if you're a firm with recurring work and you make over $500,000 in revenue, between $500,000 and $5 million, if you deal with hundreds of yearly clients or dozens of monthly clients, and you already have most of your tools in the cloud, QuickBooks Online, Xero, you're not relying on any desktop software for your operations, then this video is for you. Ultimately, what ROI comes down to, our perspective, and what we can deliver is margin. But margin, we don't necessarily have a direct impact on it, but we can have metrics that are proxies for it. And I want to share with you what those look like. The first one, it's average hourly rate. And although only relevant for the firms that actually charge time, this is an example of a firm we work with. And for their personal tax returns, they do about 500 returns a year. When they came to us, they've increased that since. Their effective hourly rate for the personal tax return work was about $226 an hour. We increased that 47% to $333 an hour. When that process will effectively decrease the average time to complete a return by an hour, you can see that the average return went from being over budget to being right around on budget. So that's the first metric we'd like to look at. That's that it is a proxy for the amount of efficiency we've gained, and that now we should be able to support that additional 47% of revenue with the existing team. Some firms, however, don't track time. And this is like the example of Donna, where in this particular case, she didn't track time, but you can always get a sense of what that ratio looks like if you're tracking how many clients you're able to support with how many team members. In that particular case, she worked with us and she went from 45 to 60 clients, and in that process, removed the role from her firm and downsized. In other instances, however, we can literally just directly measure margins when that's the more tangible issue in the firm. And this is an example of a firm that specifically the main beneficial service they got from us was dashboards, because we enabled a real-time gross profit by client dashboard that allowed them to see which clients they are losing money. And ultimately, over time of refining that over the course of a year, their margins went from the low 40s to over 50%, and they have a good path to get closer to the high 50s. So you can see how either measuring dollars per hour or dollars per FTEs or clients per FTEs, we can get closer to what ultimately matters, which is, are we increasing the efficiency of the firm and expanding margins? Now, the question is, what did you do exactly for those clients? And that's what I want to share next. There's fundamentally three lanes we focus on. The first one, it's our process audits, where we go in to better understand what are we doing exactly today, and we can start to see where are the opportunities. Number two is our custom automations. And number three, it's a data dashboard, and I want to show you one example of each. So this is the process for their tax season of the firm we talked about earlier, and the process we put in place to achieve the outcome we talked about before. Specifically, the problem they had is they wanted to make sure they got documents as early as possible so that nothing came or not everything came at the last minute, which is a very typical problem with tax season thoughts. They also didn't want to pay tens of thousands of dollars a year for an organizer software that might charge you per return. So that's kind of what their goal was. And you can see here that effectively we have a process to trigger automatically about in January 15th, a series of emails that start to message the client. We have essentially an organizer that we completed or built in JotForm, just a form builder tool. And the key piece here is that we had a system in place that checked in every week if that client had submitted all the documents, so that they were reminded throughout the season to provide us with that. There's also a series of things that happen after that person provides the documents to make sure that the team, both the admin team and the preparation team, have all the information they need in one place. and that we can route all the documents they shared, all the information they gave into one place so that they can start looking at that. And of course, that will stop those reminders accordingly so that we don't continue to email clients after they've given us the documents. Although this seems like a very small step of the process, reminding clients and getting them to give you the exact documents you need can be often 30+% of the team's time. And this is effectively the piece we worked on to deliver the outcome I mentioned earlier. This year, we're still working with that firm, and we're actually also now working on the piece around getting the client approval after the return was completed and really streamlining that. For a firm that manages about 500 returns, 1 hour per return is big ROI. Next, let's talk about the other firm we talked about, which is the bookkeeping firm. They had a long process for month end. All right, so for this bookkeeping firm, we mapped out the steps for the month-end process. They have provided us that with us in this PDF, like the one you're seeing right here. And there were about 25 steps to complete the monthly financial statement for the clients and the whole bookkeeping process. Ultimately, you can see many of these steps are already automated, most of them in fact, and this has effectively led to an 80% reduction in the time they had to invest to complete the month process. I do want to show you one of the automations that was particularly key and that touched many of us, which is effectively a monthly financial reviewer that we built, in this case, in Zapier. Effectively, this firm was using Ceph to create the reports. They created the reports, both the balance sheets and income statements, and pushed them to this email. Ultimately, we uploaded those files into ChatGPT, and we had a specific prompt to check for specific items, like distribution more than net income. Are there any significant variances? Is there any account that had a balance last month and doesn't have them this month? And these are all the things that particular firm always looked at to ensure that the balance sheets and income statements were good. There are some formatting steps here, but ultimately the outcome was creating a list within their project management tool, which was Teamwork, and list there all of the various issues that the automation found. This is kind of what the final outcome look like, where you can see in cases where, hey, this balance didn't change, maybe it should have. This distribution exceeded net income. We're missing an expense for utilities that was available in 1 month. It's not available in other. And this serves as a final check for the review to make sure we catch anything that might have gone wrong. As mentioned, of the steps of the process, we automated about 80%. And the ultimate outcome is that the process went from about hours per client per month to 15 minutes per client per month. It wasn't just the automation I share, was many of them, but just to share you a long sample of what's possible. The last I want to share with you is the dashboard. So I'm not going to share the exact dashboard just because there's a sensitive data for the client, but I do want to share with you roughly what that dashboard shared and represented. Fundamentally, that firm was capturing time in the ClickUp account, revenue in QuickBooks, but they didn't have an easy way to do the math on a regular basis to see their effective hourly rates per fund. This is an exercise we did. We met with our seniors and showed them what that actually looked like. And there were some surprises around maybe how, unprofitable, quote unquote, some of the clients were. Ultimately, we built out this dashboard even more to track specifically gross margins. They also started to track onshore versus offshore percentage. So this kind of grew over time. They also started tracking utilization by team member and percentage of rework to see how many of their team members had to touch their deliverables multiple times and start to assess how that could be fixed. In short, if there's any spreadsheet gymnastics you have to do today to format your own internal data and get insights from it, then we can help. Not only in giving you the insight, but also in automating things and see those metrics improve over time. Again, an overriding ROI for the firm where they're seeing margin improvements at the right rate. Now, what do we not do? I think this is important to mention. We have technically the ability to do a lot more custom development, but there's a couple of areas we found are just not worth our time. Specifically, mobile, like custom mobile apps or portals for clients. We haven't found a lot of demand for it. We've gotten a few requests here and there for that, but it's not something we'll officially offer at the moment. Also, full practice management implementations like hardware implementations, pump implementations. There are other vendors that specialize in those areas are probably going to be available by seat. What we do is, as mentioned earlier, we help audit your process to make it better. We connect your tools to automate them, and we create dashboards when data is scattered across multiple apps. Now, let me answer 3 more questions that are very often asked at this stage of the sales process, which are, how long do typical clients work with you? What about our intellectual property, and who do we work with specifically? On how long to work with us, we only have at this point a 3-month minimum, and then it's month to month. Beyond that, it gives enough time to deliver value. Just in a month, we're not gonna change the world. And frankly, we stick around as long as we need it. Some of our clients come on and off if they want to. They might work with us for 3 or 4 6 months, then leave and then come back later. But our average engagement at this point, it's about 11 months. In terms of intellectual property, you own everything we build. We built in Google accounts. We don't post anything. We don't keep any of your data. We actually create a separate user like you would for a team member, and we make sure to work on those accounts exclusive. Sometimes clients are concerned that we'll learn their secret, but I'll tell you that we've seen hundreds of firms, and chances are we've seen a firm that has a better process than you have right now. So also I think that there's some concerns that are maybe unfounded in terms of like us understanding how to do things, but we'd also respect that. That's not something we're going to, publicize after we work with you. So that's not something our founders should worry about. In terms of who will you work with, we have assigned 3 members to your account. The first one is an automation consultant that has tax and accounting experience and that you would be able to interact with to learn what are some of the best practices from other clients. We also have a lead architect and a project manager internal that is interacting with engineers, which is the third role, to get in the work done. On your side as a firm, we're going to need one clear decision owner that's going to be the person providing feedback and meeting with us at least twice a month to move the projects forward. So if you want better margins, better process, and you want to prepare to talk to our team, here's just some of my final recommendations to increase the chances that we can deliver outcomes of the one I shared today. Quantify how much time you're investing personally in tasks that are automatable. Take your highest volume process across your team members and start to get a baseline. Do you have, if you track time, how much? Also, average hourly rate. If you don't, how much revenue are we able to do with how many FTEs? And then we can start to get those baselines to see if we can do better based on our experience with others. And third, last but not least, document. In whatever format is most convenient to you, in videos, documents, the more clarity you provide about what you currently do, the faster we can hit the ground running. And as mentioned, if you don't have that documentation quite clear, our process audits can help you document that together if you haven't done so yourself. I look forward to seeing how we can help and hope to see you soon.